Welcome back, Trailblazer. This is Your Hell Yes Life, the inspirational show for curious women who have followed the traditional path but crave more fulfillment and meaning in life. My name is Zaya B, and my mission is to help you connect with your hell yes, make brave decisions, and take action so you can have a life that lights you up. I've been helping people change for 25 years, and I'm here to support your transformation. Today's guest is Shawnrey Notto. Shawnrey is a woman who had a traumatic experience of her body as a youth, and yet made her connection to her body her superpower that guides her life and her life's mission. How did she do it? And how can connection to your body lead you to more consistent joy and ease? Shawnrey will take us on a journey of self-discovery and embracing the full spectrum of our bodily sensations. From her transformative experiences with dance and art to her mission of helping others access their own joy, Shawnrey's story will inspire you. You'll also likely feel empowered to fully embrace and celebrate your body, your desires, and your unique journey towards a life filled with pleasure, authenticity, and self-love. So get ready to say hell yes to living in alignment with your true self as we dive into Shawnrey's incredible insights on this episode of Your Hell Yes Life. Before we get started, I want to invite you to reach out. I love connecting with listeners so that I can learn how I can support you on your own hell yes journey. DM me on Facebook at Zaya, Z-Y-A-B-B-E, or join our free Facebook group, Your Hell Yes Life, and say hello. I want to also give a trigger alert warning. There is a brief mention of sexual assault in this episode. If that will trigger you, please skip minute 6. So we're going to jump into a big one. And I think it was in your book actually, that you said, we can change the world starting with our relationship with our own bodies. I want you to just tell me more about that.
Yeah. So we are bodies. In this lifetime, we communicate, we receive information, we give information, we have whole experiences through our bodies. And as long as we're disconnected, as long as we have like unsure connections with our bodies, then that makes us be unsure out in the world.
That totally makes sense. If we're not even connected to our own body, then clearly we're not going to know our hell yes, because in my belief is that it's our intuition, that it's that gut sense. That's where we get our yes and no. We don't get that from our head. So it makes sense then, if you can't even feel that, you are not connected to your wisdom of your body, that you're going to go out there and do things that aren't necessarily aligned with your truth.
Exactly. They aren't aligned with your truth. They aren't aligned with your hell yes. Yeah, it's just really, I imagine, or I feel like the body is the conduit for inspiration. It's a conduit for how we share with others. And if our conduit, if our rod, if we're not in right relationship with it, then anything that comes in or out is going to be diffused. And so having a deep, loving, celebratory connection with the wisdom of our bodies that's just the key to opening up all kinds of potential, and definitely what you call the hell yes, which I love.
Thanks. All right. So I'm excited that we're going to get into that. I just want to back up a little bit and understand your story. And I know that you had some really formative experiences. And I think a lot of women have traumatic experiences involving their body when they're younger, and obviously at all ages, but I think it happens probably more often even when you're younger. And I know your upbringing also weighed into a challenging connection with your body. I just want to understand what influenced you in being disconnected from your body.
Yeah, that's a good question. And for me, it honestly started with, I grew up in a religious household. It wasn't like super religious, but it was just enough that there was just enough shaming, just enough fear, just enough fear around sexuality, around even just having a body. And it was, I'll give like a little story. I remember breasts they started doing like the little bit of like I kind of have breasts now. Not really, but, and I remember being terrified to talk about that because it's like, oh my gosh, what are these different things happening to my body? And then trying to share with that just to understand it, and consistently either being shut down or punished or they just being super scared and having a lot of fear. And so I grew up feeling that my body was sinful, feeling that my desires were sinful. That's like my nascent stories, which our upbringings influence how we are in the world. And so with me being taught to not be connected with my body, not have sovereignty, that meant that when I went out into the world with other people outside of my family, I didn't know what to do. I felt powerless. So then later on, when I was a teen, I actually had a mentor molest me, and it was I didn't know what to do with my body. I didn't know how to stand up for my body. I didn't know how to protect my body. My first experience of someone coming into my space in that way was without consent from someone who I thought I could trust. It was all a domino effect. Everything like connected to the other. You start off with not being connected with your body. You start off with feeling that your body is sinful. You start off with these different things. And then we head off into the world just completely ill-equipped to be a sovereign being in the world.
Wow. I'm so sorry that happened to you. It's just absolutely awful. And I'm guessing that not only did you not know what to do in that moment, but you also didn't know how to talk to anyone about it. Then you're left even more confused and traumatized.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what happened. When this happened, I literally had no words. I didn't know what to say. I just felt shame. I felt shame. I felt fear. I felt guilt. I felt alone. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know what to say, because if I said anything about my body, then it was met with punishment. So here is something that's really big that happened with my body. I'm like, it went beyond my threshold of understanding, of safety. And I literally shut down. I got really depressed because I didn't know how to express myself. I didn't know what was happening. It didn't even actually occur to me to talk to anyone about it, because it was just like a world of fear of my body, world of fear of someone else coming in contact with my body, and then like talking about something that was so intimate and so private. There's immense terror and shame and fear.
Wow. It's horrific when you're becoming a woman and stepping into this new phase, and then to be met with something that's so disorienting. How did you step forward and figure it out and make peace with it?
Yeah, how I was able to make peace with it was my guidance counselors at the time. I went from having straight A's, just plummeting and just flunking all my classes. They didn't know what was wrong. And they just figured that I was having stress from a bunch of classes. And so they said, hey, one of your honors classes and take an elective. I decided to do dance. And when I got into the dance class, the assignment we were given was to create a solo. It could be anything we wanted. It just had to be at least a minute long. And then you're going to perform it in front of the class. When I finally, at the time for the performance to happen, it wasn't a performance. I danced this dance. The song that I picked was Deliver Us from the Prince of Egypt. And that song was so poignant to me. It's talking about delivering the slaves out of bondage. And so for me, I felt like I was enslaved inside of my own body. And so when I listened to the music and I danced to it, and like in that dance, in that movement, there was like, I was able to express all of the hatred and all the fear and all the grief and all the confusion, everything that I was experiencing in my body and in my heart that I didn't know how to say with my words. All of that was able to come out through the movement, just raw and pure. And I cried at the end, and it was the most healing thing that I have ever experienced. It was the most truthful that I had ever felt and had ever been in my life. Just being able to fully express myself without judgment, without anyone trying to tell me that this is good or this is bad. It was just pure healing, dance, reclamation of myself, voicing of like these real things that were happening inside of me. And that was the healing. That was the medicine. And literally from that moment on, it has been my mission to help other people to be able to reclaim their voice, their bodies, their expression. And especially in this way that is pre-verbal, to be able to just be in this purity of expression, this purity of reclamation, this purity of being.
Damn, my body is vibrating from the power that I could feel coming off your body as you were talking about reclaiming it. I could feel that, like, I am here energy and just releasing everything else. It's also just so beautifully ironic that your discomfort with your body was worked through by using your body in such a powerful way. You didn't think about it. You didn't process it. You didn't go to therapy and talk about it. It was, boom, I need to get back into this thing that I have ignored, that I have shamed, that I've shunned, that I've shut down. I'm back. It's mine. I am it. And here I am. And then also to put yourself out there like that, to express yourself in such a raw dance, took such courage. I mean, I think even doing it without that background, without the trauma, it's very vulnerable to get out and perform in that way, to not just dance, but to dance, to put your emotions out there. And so to be 16 and going through what you went through, I just honor that you stepped up and did it. And I've not had anything like that, but I found 5 Rhythms about, 8 years ago. And 5 Rhythms is a free-form dance practice that literally is 5 rhythms. You dance through these 5 different rhythms that build up and then come down. And it has literally changed my life. Not in the same way, but I do call it cheap therapy with a workout, because this is not dance like you're going with your friends to a club. This is just your body expressing itself, and I'm just along for the ride. I don't think, oh, I want to move my arm. My arm just moves in some wild position, and then my leg is in the opposite way. And over time, it got to the point where I'd be dancing and I'm feeling great, and then I'm on the floor sobbing. And I don't know what I'm sobbing about, but something in the past finally released. And then maybe an hour later, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. And again, don't know what it's about. Don't need to know what it's about. It just came through. And so I've experienced that power of dance and of movement to move energy, to stand in our power, to stand in our truth, and to emote. You're nodding your head.
Oh, yes, I love that.
Thank you. How did you and your life change when you reconnected with your body?
Okay, yeah. Woo! It was actually quite amazing. Now, it didn't happen like all at once, but this was definitely a catalyst. I literally went from being this terrified, shy, like literally hiding my body, to there's one story that happened later. I always hid my body. It was like when you have fear of your body, when you have fear of like just your expression, then it's pervasive. And after this, I remember one day where I normally would be like hiding like in a corner, I suddenly was like just out. Let's tits out, just being out there, being like, you know what? I am so tired of just feeling like holding myself down and feeling so scared all the time. Fuck it. And let me just take off the bra and like just be with the women and do the things. And so, I mean, it wasn't an all out wild thing, but it was free. It was freeing.
Mm.
It was this ability to just love and be with myself without all of the extra judgment, without all of the extra baggage and stories and the fear. So then, like after that moment, I slowly just started just looking at my body and experiencing my body. And it wasn't anything that was sexual, but it was just like, oh, this is so cool. This is my skin or my feet. And it's just on such an innocent level. It's just so wonderful just to love and be with my body instead of having the weight of people's expectations, the weight of you have to look this way and that you're ugly if it looks that way. The weight of that is just excruciating and painful. Suddenly making the choice to just love myself exactly as I was was the most liberating and joyful experiences ever. I ended up being the person that I still am, who just will compliment people. I'll just go and be like, oh, I like this, that, and the other thing. Oh, I like that. And people light up. People light up because they're being seen. In me loving my own body, loving myself, it gave me room and space to love other people, to give other people that same attention and love and celebration that I needed and that I give myself. And it's just like it's a beautiful cycle of love and appreciation.
Wow, that is so beautiful. And something that, especially here in the West, where we are bombarded with images of exactly what we're supposed to look like and all of that nonsense, to just say, enough. I look like I look, and here I am. And to get to that point where you're so comfortable with yourself that it's not even that you don't care about the expectations. You don't need any validation, nothing. It's, I am who I am. You can be who you are. You're gorgeous too. Let's all celebrate. Let's all be ourselves. And it's just, I can just sense this deep comfort also of just, yep, I am. Here I am. There's something almost playful about it of just like, ooh, look, I have an arm. And you said innocent, but I'm starting to get that sense of just, yeah, almost like when a child discovers that they have feet and then all of a sudden like, oh, my nose is my nose as a baby. I sense that it was like coming back with that innocence because you were told that you weren't allowed to do that. And so now it's like you kind of reconnected back at the point that you were disconnected, which was most likely very, very young.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that it warms my heart, but it's also like what people enjoy. I mean, people want to be able to be seen in just joy and playfulness and permission, just permission to be. You don't have to be like sophisticated. It's just so amazing to see what people do or how people embody when they realize that they can just embody and be themselves. And playfulness is both part of the medicine and also a symptom. It's a symptom of being in your body.
And the depth of connection, I think. When you're so comfortable with yourself that you're not worried about what somebody else is thinking of you or trying to keep yourself all buttoned up and perfect, then you can really tap in and go deep and really connect in a true, deep, authentic way. And you don't have these barriers that could get in the way. So it's interesting. You went from that to then I know you did a ton of nude art modeling, which is just such a beautiful flip of being admired for your body, being turned into art in different ways. Just so damn delicious. I love that idea that you went from being invaded to reclaiming to then sharing your body as a work of art, to be admired, to be replicated, interpreted, enjoyed, celebrated. Just, can you tell me how that started?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So when I graduated from college, I had this image of myself being naked on a stage. I saw like, it was like dark stage, my dark skin, and then the lights glistening off the oil and the sweat of my skin. And I was just like, I want to be the embodiment of beauty and art and strength and dance. I became a professional dancer, but then also I saw an advertisement for art modeling, and I'd actually never heard of it before. And I was like, you know what? That seems really cool. And I said yes to it. I'd never done it before. I'd never seen it. And the day before I was supposed to do this, I was washing up and I looked in the mirror and I said, oh my God, I had a moment of panic. Oh my God, this is what they're going to see. Oh God, no, this. So I was freaking out. But I was like, you know what? It's going to be okay. I went to my first art class and just learned about it. And essentially what I call art modeling suspended dancing. So I was a dancer already. And so essentially when I'm up there, I just go into a dance expression and then let it be suspended. I'm still breathing. I'm still present. And what's really beautiful about being an art model is that I get to interact with artists. So artists see the world as art. And so there's like this beautiful symbiosis between art model and artist. What's also awesome about it is that they aren't looking for like the perfect body. They're like, ooh, this curve and ooh, the bigness and ooh, they're like looking, they're like super curious about all the details. And that's just yummy. Just bringing curiosity and openness, not the judgment, but just like this is so cool. This is a body. This is like nature right here in front of me.
And I think that must have been really fun as well to see the interpretation of you.
And I actually found that the more the artists were embodied, the more that they were just like even present with their art themselves.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I'm actually an artist, and I've noticed that I often have been painting where I'm like, okay, how do I make this look good? And then I'm in my head. And so the other day I was in the studio and I was like, nope, not doing it. And I just squeezed paint all over the canvas, grabbed whatever brush felt like the brush that I wanted. And I just like scribbled and splatted and poked. And like I was in one corner for, a few minutes, just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, because that's what my body wanted to do. And oh, did that feel good?
Yeah. Yes.
It was awesome. All right. So we have to get into your book. Shawnrey wrote a book that is really unique, really easy to read, and so helpful and interesting, called Sensual Intelligence, The Lost IQ. And it is something I actually had never thought of or heard of before. And again, this is sensual. This is not sexual. So where did this idea come from?
Well, this idea came from a lot of life experience and a lot of conversations that I've had with others. So I've always been someone who was shy. And honestly, part of the shyness was feeling that people like immediately wanted to jump to sex. And I wasn't ready for that. How could I jump to sex? And I didn't even know my body. I didn't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that, I've been going to lots of different courses and everyone talking about sexuality, everyone talking about genitals. But I was like, what about just giving myself time and giving others time to just actually feel and be present with their bodies, in their bodies, and having a whole spectrum of experience of the body that's not always sexual. It could be. It definitely enhances sex because there's like sensual, like the base word is sense. It is to feel. And so it's like, I like to play with sense all of you. And so that for me, the reason why I love sensuality is because it is an invitation to bring curiosity, exploration, discovery to yourself, to your environment. And when we can taste, touch, smell, feel our environment, ourselves, then we get to really know our tool. We get to really know in a way that doesn't have a specific agenda of having sex. Like there's like this beautiful knowledge that you get to have through having a relationship with your body, through having a relationship with yourself. So that's why sensual and not sexual.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And in the book, you have 7 types of sensual intelligence, and you have a brilliant, easy quiz that you can take to help figure out which one you show up in, and in ways that you can actually expand, in ways that maybe you've been blocking yourself based on patterns that you created when you were younger that are now expressing themselves. And it felt so spot on. I actually resonated with several of them, but I am a diva, and I'm not just calling myself a diva. Her quiz is calling me a diva. And reading it absolutely made sense on how that pattern could come to be and how I show up in the world. And so it was so unique. It was like a fun personality type test. That's not a personality, but it is as well. It's not just about your body. It's how you are relating to the world through your body and through your wounds as well. And it's almost for people that know the Enneagram, this is like a fun version of the Enneagram, because some of the things that you said about the diva relate to, I'm an 8 with a wing 7 in Enneagram, and it relates to that. It's pretty similar kinds of concept. So, but yours felt more fun and more freeing than the other one. How did you come up with all of that?
Yeah, once again, it was through a lot of connecting with people and just noticing like tendencies, because even the sensual intelligence types, it's not rigid. Even as you notice yourself, you're like, oh, there's some other aspects that I identified with. And that's good, because in actuality, when we are fully expressed, we get to access all parts of ourselves. And like you said, the types come with our orienting ourselves around our best understanding of our connection with our bodies. And so just looking at just listening to people and seeing how they were in their bodies, seeing what were their blocks and their gifts around how they were being. And then also just looking at nature, because all of them are connected with some aspect of nature as well, which I feel like we as human beings, we as bodies being in nature, there are elements of all of nature inside of us. So, and those expressions of nature move through us, and we feel more at home, at ease with some of them. Yeah. So the types they go off of, like, the empath is really connected with water. The diva is connected with fiery passion. The dominatrix is connected with that decisiveness in metal, and on and on. And so this happened from lots of studying and from like really talking with my clients and just seeing how their bodies are in the world and in their own discovery of themselves.
But you must have a really strong ability to see patterns, because it's one thing to really tune into your clients. It's another to be able to take this massive body of experience and hone it down to these 7 patterns that, again, were very easy to understand. It's not, and the book isn't a very long, big, complex book. It's quite easy to get through. Not that you want to rush through it. There are exercises and questions that are great. It's an interesting way of thinking and a skill set that you have to be able to bring that together and then present it in this way for us to understand and to understand ourselves uniquely.
What's really fun when the people take it for themselves and they're like, oh, wow, that is really interesting. And if they're in a partnership, when they like take it with their partner, and then they get to really be able to see how they are seen and see how they're received, and also like the areas in which they would like to deepen into. And so, yeah, the patterns, we have tendencies. I do see patterns. I think part of it has to do with I'm a dancer choreographer. And so how people move their bodies, how people are in their bodies tells a story. Our bodies tell stories to ourselves, like how we occupy our bodies both tells us how to be in the world, but then also projects out what we're feeling. And so that there were just patterns of being. No one's exact same. They're general gestalts of how people be in the world, how people be in their bodies. Ways of believing, like you just shared right now. What are some beliefs that you may have? And then even deeper, what is the deep desire that's actually behind that belief? A lot of times I find our blockages on the other side of the places where we're blocked is a vulnerable, sensitive, deep longing. And that block, it's a protective barrier to open up to that deep longing. It's really vulnerable because it's so natural and so pure, and like no one else has ever seen it before. And it's like, I don't really want anyone to see it, because what if they make fun of me? What if they don't like me? Gently be like, okay, yeah. Woo! Explore, nurture the aspects of us that come out in order to protect us.
Yeah, so beautiful. The way you talk helps us, or at least it helps me, to intensify sensation, because as you talk more quietly, I can feel my body reacting differently than when you're talking like this. And so it's just interesting how you use every aspect of your being. It's not just your physicality, it's your voice and your energy. And I appreciate you modeling that for us. So I realize that you have an entire book, and I do think that everybody should go and get that book and enjoy it. But since we're talking about reconnecting to our body to create our hell yes life, if you were to give one exercise, one tip, one idea, what would you want to share with people?
super simple, but also I find like the most profound things come from just simplicity.
Absolutely.
And it is to slow down and savor. Slow down and savor. Because that slowing down allows us to connect to ourselves. And the savoring, that is the gift. You could savor your own self. When you savor your own body, your own self, that is deep self-love. When you savor someone else, they feel that love. It's like, oh my God, I just kind of like melting right now underneath your gaze, When you savor your food, oh, you get to taste all the different flavors and the textures. Slow down and savor. And in that, you will find a whole world opens to you that you never knew about.
Yeah. And it's, to your point, it's so simple, and we could do it without any effort. We don't need to go buy anything. You could even be stuck in traffic and savor the sunshine coming through the windows, or the smells that are from the flowers coming through the car, right? Or just savoring the quiet and the slow time that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And that for me, I feel like the magic is when you can find the sensual or find the beauty in the mundane. So just like you said, if you can be driving your car, maybe you'll feel along the ridges of your steering wheel, and just like those bumps, some of those steering wheels have like those little bumps, and just be like, oh my goodness, what a delightful sensation. Or if you're like washing dishes, or it's like in these everyday, if we can add even just 5 seconds of sensuality, of enjoyment every day, then it just opens you up to the magic and beauty that really is always around. But it's just like, oh, I'm going to open up the aperture of my senses and experience the gift of this world, the gift of me being in a body with all of these nerves, and it's like, oh, this is good. I've been gifted a whole sensory pleasure machine that.
So instead of, what do I weigh and what do I look like and all of that, it's like, woo, look at this thing I have. I don't need anything for my birthday. Keep the presents for all the holidays. Look what I already have. I mean, what an energy around that. And I actually told Shawnrey that today was a perfect day to have this interview with her, because I have been working really hard, and I decided, that's it. I'm not doing any of that today. And so I sat in bed savoring strawberries. And then I had a bath, and I slowly enjoyed the bath. And then I had food that I don't normally eat, and so on and so on. And so it just happened to be the day that we were talking, but it could not be more perfect. And thank you for actually helping to put those ideas in my head.
You're welcome.
So what impact do you hope to have on the world with this work?
My deep mission is for everyone to experience joy, just pure, loving joy for themselves, and to be able to connect with others. And like we said at the beginning, when we are able to have a healthy, celebratory relationship with our bodies, there's there's love, there's ability for connection and relationship.
So my last question for you, which is one that I ask every time, is to get your brag on. You can brag about anything you want, but I'm giving you the mic, and I want you to stand tall and tell us whatever you want to brag about.
Okay. Well, when I fully connected with my full self-expression, and that part of that was writing a book on sensuality, I had to be in my body and be a sensual being while doing something that most people say is cerebral, I wrote a dadgum book in my sensual intelligence, and it is a beautiful thing. And then afterwards, because I fully expressed myself, I ended up meeting a partner, and honey, when I'm in my full self-expression, I attracted that, and I have nonstop orgasms with someone who totally matches me. And it's just like, Shawnrey, bring on the pleasure. Yes, I love all of it. And we're just like, whoop. So,
Ooh, I mean, hell yes to that.
yes. Oh,
and congratulations. Who gets to write a best-selling book? I didn't mention that it is a best-selling book and end up with a magnificent partner and nonstop orgasms. I'm pretty sure you just got the gift of your body and a jackpot. Boom, ding, 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 ding. Well done.
Thank you.
That's a good brag.
Yeah.
Not to judge your brag, but it's a fun one.
Yeah. Thank you. It's yummy.
Well, this has been an absolute blast. Besides your book, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, you can check me out on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and everywhere it's at Shawnrey Notto, my first name and last name. And yeah, and also my website is just shawnrey.com. So if you know how to spell my name, or if you can find my name,
it'll be in the show notes.
Yeah, that's how you can find me.
Sweet. Thank you. Everybody go out and enjoy and savor. Remember, that's your homework assignment from this podcast. Savor. That's it for this episode. For more connection with a community of brave women trailblazing their lives, join us in the free Your Hell Yes Life Facebook group. In this episode, we learned that by giving yourself time to fully embrace and experience your sensations, you will be able to unlock a deeper understanding of yourself. If you're ready to dive in now, give yourself permission to experience sensation and pleasure and explore your desires without judgment. Saying hell yes to your body is saying hell yes to your life. And as always, stay brave and true to your hell yes.